Welcome to the stand. When we stand for God, He stands for us. You know, the world population is kind of relatively even, but there's still more women than men. And even in our church, women outnumber men 5-1. So, you know, I know if, you know, for all the ladies out there, you know, they may be posing this question, you know, why is it so hard to find a man?
Well, if we're speaking in a church context, I'm going to speculate that many of the young boys grow up in a church where they want to experiment, they want to be adventurous, and rightly or wrongly, they don't find young women with whom they can be adventurous, and so therefore they leave the church and go and be adventurous elsewhere. And we've always heard it said that a man will go outside of the church to experiment, but when he's ready to really settle down and find someone with whom he wants to spend the rest of his life, then he'll come back. And so, ladies, just wait.
What? This is not a recycling center, right? You go out there, get all dirty, then you get recycled and come back to a brand new car, talk about, oh yeah, I'm the one. You should have stayed in the church.
We go out to play and we come home to eat.
Or semi-brand new. We're close enough.
I think if we're going to talk about how men go outside, if men go outside of the church and they seek something else outside and they come back in, yeah, sure, there are always going to be consequences to the actions that you take. But I think to write someone off simply because they have fallen, we've all sinned, we've all fallen short. And so to write someone off because they've fallen short, we've also at the same time fallen short. You can't have a higher expectation of someone else and not hold yourself to the same standard. So I'm not saying that you should accept any which way man coming at you anytime, but I'm saying that you shouldn't let maybe someone having more sexual experience than you deter you necessarily from making a good experience, because we've all been forgiven, and it depends on their attitude. If they're contrite, if they're not trying to do that again, I don't think that you should write them off simply for the fact that they have a history, because everybody has a history.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But with that said, why is it still that more men, as few as they are in the church, are most likely to leave church than women? Why is it
man,
that?
My question is, what are women doing when the man is there and has not left yet to try and hold on to the guy? As well, I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I know a lot of young ladies who, if you really dive into what they see as the perfect kind of guy besides a good-looking guy, a lot of girls will be into guys who are not even really inside the church, whether you're looking at like a rap star or whoever the person is, but they like these kind of, you know, really, I'm a buff guy, I dress a certain way, you know, I carry on this kind of lifestyle, and there are girls who are interested in that as well. So, I mean, the argument can kind of go both ways in a sense.
But I think that's a solid point, in that if a young man growing up in a church observes that his female counterparts are attracted to a male figure that is not in keeping with the male figure that he is striving to be in the church, i.e., they're attracted to the rap guy, the tough guy, the guy from the outside, then there's a motivation for that young man to try to emulate that which is outside in order to get the attention of the young lady that's right next to him.
Well, we could say the same thing on the other side. You could say, well, guys are, looking for that sexy woman who, acts a certain way or dresses a certain way, to have fun. Why is it that when it's on the other side?
One thing that maybe is worth exploring is typically young girls growing up in their homes are much more sheltered and protected by their parents than the young boys are. And so it very well may be that you outnumber us in numbers, but in spirit, you're just as empty as we are. I'm just saying, you could very well be going to church and doing all your stuff under the table and just sitting there. We're just out front. We'll just leave. We're just not there anymore. You guys are there, but maybe you're not really there. I'm just saying.
No, I would agree with that. I would also say that as women, we need to be very aware of what kind of image we project. We can't, and I've had this experience with some of my other friends who will say, I'm ready to find a good man. I'm at this Adventist university and I can't find a man. Well, and the way they behave is they're extremely flirty. They'll date the wrong guys, and then yet they'll expect the good, godly men to want them after behaving that way. Or maybe they acted that way before, and then they change their ways. But regardless of that, I think just as women are getting more and more selective in the men that they're choosing to get involved with, so are men. And so we need to be careful about the image that we're projecting, just as men need to be. And we may not even realize, even the way we carry ourselves, we should carry ourselves respectfully as women, as godly women, and as potential wives. And we should view all men not as potential husbands, but as brothers in Christ.
I think you also, that's a very good point. And I think you also have to remember, there's been tons of studies done on the maturity level versus women and guys, and women do mature a lot faster than guys. Like, I'm even trying to think about myself and going back a few years, and to be honest with you, looking for the right girl and stuff like that wasn't necessarily on my mind. It was like about having fun, hanging with the boys, doing macho things or things that guys do, whereas your average regular girl is more kind of the mindset, God, I want to put my life in order. And it's always like that. Even after you get married, the woman's the more focused one on, we got to pay the bills, we got to get this done. And the guy's kind of like, yo, listen, it's about us, and it's about me and you. Forget about all the other things, and this is what I want in our relationship. So you got to take those things.
It's all about love.
Yeah.
You may have all seen this happen before. You grow up in a church, and there's a bunch of girls, a bunch of guys, and they don't pay each other much attention, and then someone comes from far away and joins into that church, and maybe it's a new guy or a new girl, and let's say it's a new guy who comes in. All of a sudden that new guy grabs the attention of all the girls, and all the boys who were here all along now get jealous because the new kid on the block's got the attention. And I think the point that I'm making here is that familiarity does that. It causes you to not appreciate the gem that is next to you and want to look for a precious stone that is outside. So my advice to young ladies would be, whether it's a 5-to-1 ratio or a 10-to-1 ratio, cherish the one who's there rather than go look for 9 who may not actually give you anything more than the one who was there to begin with.
Sure. One thing I also want to bring up, because the thing is, we talked a lot of good points here, is that, like, what role does the church play in all this? Because the thing is,
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? With youth leaving, it's got to be more than just how we interact with each other and, the relationships that we develop with one another. Like, how does the church get involved?
They spend too much time trying to separate us. Maybe that's why people are running away.
No, I don't think that's what the problem is. I think that there's no kind of there's no programs or anything really in the church that's geared towards specifically, I would say, dating, marriage, and young people right now. I don't think I've ever experienced that. Any experience that I've had has come from my own experience, like reading or the things that I've seen. So I think the church could play a really huge role in maybe going through these things, giving us these ideas from a young age so that we know how to behave, so that we know how to pursue relationships in a godly manner, that we know what type of people that we should be pursuing, not what society tells us. Society tells us that the thug is where it's at, or like the rock star or the celebrity. Yeah, do what you want. Get a good man, and life is short, so kind of just go with the flow.
Go ahead.
Okay, Karen, I want to ask you something. I want to ask you, what do you think? Like, you as a woman, okay, and I'm saying you as a woman, okay. When you're in the church, do you feel that the church treats women at a higher level, gives them that higher level of? Because the thing is, what I'm getting at, it almost seems like sometimes when you get to a certain age as a boy, right? You may be involved in certain things or whatever. As you get older, you may get put to the wayside, and it almost seems like the girls almost get elevated because they do a lot more things in the church, kind of thing. Like, what do you think?
I definitely feel like girls have always been expected to act in a more mature way than boys do. Like the saying goes, boys will be boys, but it's never been girls will be girls. We've always been expected to be responsible, to be mature, and to act like adults even before we're adults ourselves. So I feel that's something the church does feed from a very young age when you grow into the church.
Could it be, though, that one of the reasons why the church doesn't deliberately engage in, say, dating opportunities and dating counseling is because we don't trust our young people to make the right decisions when they are in those situations. And so rather than grooming them through trial by fire, we choose to have them abstain from one another with the hope that they will make the right decisions when the time is right, but certainly not push them through it or coach them through it. Could that be the reason why we keep them separate? And if so, is that not a worthy risk, or a risk worth taking?
I don't know. It could be, you know, and then like you, and as you said, like, you know, children and stuff like that. Like even as parents, right? You know, like parents, our youth associates God with our parents in a way.
Well, this is very true, and I think for a young man, many times when a young man comes to a point where he rebels against the church and he rebels against his upbringing, in actuality, he's rebelling against his parents or the parent figure in his home. And so, having decided that he wants to reject dad or reject mom, he's also decided that he wants to reject everything that mom and dad represent. And that could be the spiritual upbringing, it could be the structure, it could be the religion. And so saying goodbye to mom and dad also means saying goodbye to the church. And so in that respect, I would encourage churches to consider ways that they can foster a relationship between people and God, so that people develop real relationships with God beyond the institution. I think that's a challenge for most young men.
You know, I think we've talked about many different factors that kind of contribute to, you know, why, you know, youth are leaving the church as a whole, right? You know, and we need to start asking ourselves, you know, what are we doing to make that actual difference, right? You know, people will come and go, but, you know, we need to start addressing the needs of our young people. You know, we need to create opportunities for young men, young women, in a way that they can express themselves that is safe and also acceptable. You know, not forgetting that they are valued and they are important as well, right? You know, and like, no parent is perfect, right? No child is perfect. So, you know, but there is something that holds true no matter what. In Proverbs 22:6, it talks about train a child in a way that he should go, and even when he's old, he will not depart from it. Now, the question is where do you stand? I want to thank the panel for helping me out today and everything, and we'll see you later, and God bless.